Ladies and gentlemen, the event is going to start 5 minutes later. Please all the participants turn on the video. Baik, Bapak Ibu, let me start this event. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everyone. The Honorable, the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Bandar Lampung, The Head of Study Program, S1 English Education Department, Universitas Islam Malang. The Head of Study Program, S1 English Education Department, Universitas Gunung Rinjani Lombok. The Head of Study Program, Tadris English Language, Unzah Ginggong Probolinggo. The Head of Study Program, S1 English Education Department, Universitas Sunan Ampel, Surabaya. The Honorable Director of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yazidi, Master of Engineering. The first Vice Rector of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, Professor Kacung Marijan, DRS MA PhD. The second Vice Rector of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, Insinyur Muhammad Fakih, MSA PhD. The third Vice Rector of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, Dentist Umihani MKes. All the directors, the head of units, the deans and the vice deans, the head and the secretary of study program, the lecturers and the staff in Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya. And respectable, our amazing speakers, Professor Dr. Gary I. Lilienthal from Tashkent State University of Law, Dr. Andes Juari, Magister of Humaniora, Ibu Tia Saputri, SSMPD, and also as the head of study program of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya. And dear all the audiences, committees, and invited guests. All praises belong to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for the mercy and grace, so we can meet in this virtual event in good condition and happy situation. Peace and blessings are also praised to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has guided us from Jahiliyah era to the Islamiyah era, that is Islam religion. I would like to say welcome all the participants to the third Mimbar Academic, writing articles for international publications. This event is conducted by Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, collaboration with lecturer from Tashkent State University of Law. Let me introduce myself. I am Nurul, staff in International Office Affairs, as the host for today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, to start this event, let me read the agenda today. First, opening by the host. Second, singing national anthem of Indonesia and Australia, followed by Subhanul Watan and Himna Unusa. The third, showing video profile of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, and continued by video profile of Unusa. Fourth, opening remarks from the Rector of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya. And the fifth is the third Mimbar Academic, and then the last is closing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the first agenda is opening. Let's open our event today by praying. Thank you. The next agenda is singing Indonesia Raya, Advent Australia Affair, Subhanul Watan, and Himna Unusa. Ladies and gentlemen, let's watch video profile of FKIP and video profile of UNUSA.
The Nahdlatul Ulama University of Surabaya, or UNUSA, is a higher educational institution that was established by the Islamic Public Organization of Nahdlatul Ulama. The presence of UNUSA is under the patronage of the Surabaya Islamic Hospital Foundation, which is also known as YARSIS, or Yayasan Rumah Sakit Islam Surabaya. UNUSA was established in 2013 through a strategic shift from YARSIS High School of Health Science. UNUSA holds a vision to be a leading, excellent, and professional higher educational institution in knowledge, technology, and arts, along with entrepreneurship and Islamic character. Currently, UNUSA has been accredited as B tier with 5 faculties and 20 study programs: medical faculty, health sciences faculty, educational and teaching faculty, business economics and digital technology faculty, and nursing and wifery faculty. 4 study programs has been accredited as A tier, and other 16 study programs has been accredited as B tier. In late 2018, UNUSA was appointed as a new private higher education provider, which had the best management progression by the High Education Service Institution, or L2 Dikti Regional 7 East Java. In early 2019, UNUSA successfully achieved an award for the first and best Nahdlatul Ulama higher educational institution in Indonesia in implementing internal quality assurance given by LPT Nahdlatul Ulama Indonesia. In 2020, UNUSA was ranked at 135th from 2,136 higher educational institutions in Indonesia. UNUSA was nationally ranked at 31st in 2020 for student services. UNUSA has 2 highly equipped and modern campus buildings. UNUSA is also supported by 3 private hospitals: the Surabaya Islamic Hospital in Ahmad Yani, the Surabaya Islamic Hospital in Jemur Sari, and the Nyai Ageng Pinati Mother and Children Hospital in Gresik. Those hospitals serve as both a health service facility and practical facility for students to achieve the competency standards. UNUSA received PCR tools and reagent PCR as a grant from the Indonesian Ministry of Education and Culture. UNUSA became the first university in Indonesia that developed virtual reality laboratories and super advanced micro-teaching laboratories in the digital era. The virtual reality laboratory provides real practical experience for students without having to physically attend the laboratory. The UNUSA Micro Teaching Laboratory is supported with smart whiteboard display, multi-touchscreen writing board, and can be integrated with smartphones, personal computers, and connect to the internet. It is the first and only one in Indonesia. UNUSA has several partnerships with both national and international institutions. Until 2020, UNUSA has established 157 MOUs with national institutions and 27 MOUs with international institutions. UNUSA is committed to undertake the 3 main pillars of higher education as well as possible. Currently, the UNUSA Research Cluster is at medium level, and UNUSA Community Service Cluster is at advanced level. UNUSA has 15 scientific journals, 9 accredited national SINTA, and 1 DOAG indexed journal. In terms of community service, UNUSA works with the East Java Province government to hold the One Pesantren, One Product program. To provide an abroad career opportunity for nursing graduates and respond to the global challenge and opportunity on professional nursing jobs, UNUSA worked with BP2MI to establish ALPKS. UNUSA is committed to provide the best not just for Civitas Akademika, but also for all Nahdlatul Ulama higher educational providers in Indonesia. To provide competency certificates for UNUSA students, LSP UNUSA has 8 schemes: economic, IT, health, nursing, and midwifery schemes. UNUSA understands the importance of information technology in the learning process. Therefore, UNUSA has developed eSorogan, an IT-based learning platform. The technology provides strength in the blended learning process, a learning process which combines offline and online methods. In the future, UNUSA is committed to be the best choice for people with world-class quality. UNUSA prepares generation rahmatan lil alamin.
Kami
Generasi
rahmatan lil alamin.
Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan merupakan salah satu fakultas unggulan yang menjadi bagian dari Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya. Sejalan dengan visi misi universitas, FKIP UNUSA tengah tumbuh dan berkembang menjadi fakultas yang unggul, profesional, berjiwa wirausaha, serta berjati diri Islami. Dalam rangka melaksanakan Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi, FKIP UNUSA bersama program studi telah menjalin kerjasama dengan berbagai institusi. Guna mensukseskan kegiatan pembelajaran dan mahasiswa, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan telah memiliki 2 gedung dengan fasilitas lengkap, kekinian dan terstandarisasi. Di antaranya, Lab Micro Teaching, Ruang Kelas, Laboratorium Komputer CBT, Ruang Terbuka Diskusi, Laboratorium Virtual Reality, Laboratorium IPA, Laboratorium IPS dan PKN, Laboratorium Matematika, Laboratorium Seni, Lapangan Praktik PJOK. Saat ini, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan telah memiliki 4 program studi. S1 Pendidikan Guru Sekolah Dasar, S1 Pendidikan Anak Usia Dini, S1 Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris, Pendidikan Profesi Guru. Dalam menjaga mutu dan kualitas pendidikan, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan UNUSA senantiasa berkomitmen untuk menjalankan sistem dan manajemen yang unggul. Dalam proses pembelajaran FKIP UNUSA, didukung oleh para dosen pengajar yang handal dan juga profesional. Sebagai kampus yang terkemuka, unggul dan profesional dalam ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi, UNUSA juga telah memanfaatkan kecanggihan teknologi saat ini dalam sistem akademik. Dalam melaksanakan Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi, FKIP UNUSA berkomitmen untuk terus melaksanakan penelitian dan pengabdian masyarakat. Hasil penelitian para dosen FKIP UNUSA telah berhasil dipublikasikan baik di tingkat nasional maupun internasional.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo teman-teman,
Saya Bagas Arya Fernanda dari Prodi S1 Pendidikan Guru SD, Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya. Saya berasal dari kota Surabaya. Nah, selain itu saya juga menjuarai tingkat nasional maupun internasional. Yang di nasional juara 3 bergu, kemudian untuk internasional juara 1 bergu. Nah, terima kasih untuk pihak-pihak kampus, pihak-pihak fakultas maupun pihak terkait lainnya karena sudah memberi saya kebebasan untuk mengikuti kegiatan di luar kampus seperti saya ini, yaitu Anggar.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya Mutia Sahara, Prodi S1 Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris, Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya Angkatan 2018 dari Sidoarjo. Prestasi yang saya raih, Duta Kampus UNUSA 2019, penerima hibah PHP 2D, program Be-Smart, Wardah Kampus Ambasador, Brand Ambasador Psikologiku, penerima beasiswa prestasi fakultas. Pengalaman yang sangat menyenangkan ketika berkuliah di UNUSA saat saya menjalankan program PHP 2D di Lenteng Sumeneb. Saya dapat berinteraksi dengan masyarakatnya, belajar bersama adik-adik, dan itu merupakan pengalaman yang berarti buat saya.
Bersama FKIP UNUSA, ratusan alumni telah mengabdi di berbagai penjuru negeri, menjadi pendidik yang unggul, profesional, dan rahmatan lil alamin.
As the dream of UNUSA, we hope that UNUSA student can be Rahmatan Lil Alamin generation. The next agenda is opening remarks, which will be delivered by the Rector of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, the Honorable Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yazidi, Master of Engineering. The time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Nurul. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, Sayyidina Muhammad ibn Abdullah, la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Amma ba'd. The Honorable, our invited speakers, Professor Dr. Gary L. Liliento from Tashkent State University of Law, the Honorable Dr. Juari M. Hum, and Ibu Tias Saputri, SS MPD. The Honorable, our college Vice Rectors of UNUSA, Prof. Kachung, Dr. Fakih, and Madam Dr. Giki Dentis Umihani, Magister of Health. Honorable Deans of Teacher Training and Education Faculty, UNUSA, and Vice Dean, Head of Departments, and Secretary of Departments, all directors, and invited guest, Dean of Teacher Training and Education Faculty of the Universitas Bandar Lampung, Madam Mr. Yanwar Dwi Prastyo, PhD. All head of departments of English Education Department of Universitas Islam Sunan Ampel, UIN, Sah. Madam Dr. Siti Asmiah, SPD, Tisol, Head of Department, English Education Department of Universitas Islam Malang, Mr. Eko Suhartoyo, SPD, MPD. Head of Tadris English Department of Universitas Zainul Hasan Genggong Probolinggo, Bapak Beni Hamdani, SPD, MPD. And Head of Department of English Education of University of Gunung Rinjani Lombok, Mr. Mawardi, SS, MPD. All lecturers and all participants of this event. First of all, Alhamdulillah wa shukrulillah. Let us say our praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our blessing and salutations are given to Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ladies and gentlemen, this agenda is the third of Mimbar Academic Forum held by Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, and held once a month. Proposed to be a scientific forum for all lecturers and students in order to create an academic environment, a good academic environment. Ladies and gentlemen, as well known, all prospective scientists should aim high on scientific and academic work. Publishing articles in international journal transactions should be one of our major goals to show our responsibility for the development of science and technology. However, it is not easy and it is not simple to have our articles published in international journals or transactions, but we must do our best to achieve it. It is through publications, the result of our researches, either theoretical or practical contributions, is disseminated to others, disseminated to the world globally. This makes researchers and practitioners, especially those are in similar interests, aware of new knowledge in their field. And surely, it is very important process for developing science and technology. Publishing articles in international journals or transactions gives the researchers more opportunity to involve in a creative academic environment of other countries. Meanwhile, the citation impact is a measure of how many times a researchers who is published the result of his research in an academic journal or transactions or a book is cited by other researchers. It definitely broadened the researchers' contributions to science globally. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it will be interesting to find out how we should publish our articles in international journals and our transactions. And in these occasions, our invited speakers will enrich us, enlighten us through their experience. In these occasions, our invited speakers will explain in detail through their representations. Hopefully, this event will provide us with knowledge and information about the importance of international journal publications. That's all. Wallahu muwafiq ila aqwamit tariq. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Yazidi, for the inspiring speech. Moving on to the main agenda, that is the third Mimbar Academic writing articles for international publications, and it will be moderated by Mr. Edi Pujo Basuki, SPD MPD. He is the Secretary Study Program of English Education Department, Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nurul. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Please be open and blessing. The Honorable Rector of Universitas Surabaya, Professor Dr. Isra Ahmad, SCM Engineering, the Honorable All Vice Rectors Universitas Surabaya, the Honorable All Deans and Vice Dean of Universitas Surabaya, the Honorable All Directors and Head of Departments of UNSA, the Honorable all the head and vice of study programs, the honorable all lecturers, guests, students, and audience. On this beautiful day, allow me to introduce myself. I am Edi Puja Basuki MPT, one of lecturers in S1 English Education of FKIP UNSA at this event as a moderator. I am the moderator for the 3 sessions of this Mimbar Academic 3. Today, we are very lucky. We will get a lot of useful knowledge in one event. We will get enlightenment from 3 awesome speakers. These 3 speakers are professionals and experts in their field and very far involved in scientific field. All right. For first session, presentation from Mrs. Tia Saputri, SLPT. How are you, ma'am?
Fine, thank you.
This is Tias.
You hear my voice? Yes, sir, I'm fine. Thank you. And you? Are you in a good condition?
Okay. Let me read the CV of Tia Saputri SMBT. She has made too many achievements, so I will read a few briefly. Curriculum vitae. Name Tia Saputri SMBT. Jabatan fungsional asisten ahli. NPP 1212835. DN 0718028506. from Surabaya, was born and 30 December 1984. The last 10 appraisement I read in Indonesian is number 1, Pengmas Award Bronze Unusa 2017, Pengmas Award Best Actuality Unusa 2017, peraih hibah inovasi pembelajaran berkebutuhan khusus di perguruan tinggi 2019, peraih hibah penelitian dosen pemula, dosen pembimbing hibah PHP 2D, dosen pembimbing program bangkit, dosen pembimbing program kampus mengajar batch 1, dosen pembimbing program kampus mengajar batch 2, peraih hibah inovasi pembelajaran berkebutuhan khusus, peraih hibah kerjasama kurikulum dan implementasi MBKM, mentor hibah KMMI, mentor program berjuang muda. Posisi dan jabatan yang pernah jalani: Kaprodi SPPBI, pendiri ICC, auditor mutu internal Unusa, reviewer PKM, manajer Unusa Language Center, asesor lembaga sertifikasi profesi Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya LSP Unusa BNSP, manajer hubungan eksternal 2020 until now. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Tia Saputri, SMPD. Ms. Tia Saputri, SMPD, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, the moderator, Mr. Edi Pujabasuki. Okay, the operator, would you please give me the access for sharing my screen? Yeah, already. The Honorable Director of Nahdlatul Ulama University of Surabaya, the Honorable the Vice Rector, the second, the third, the first Vice Rector, the second, the third, the directors, the Dean, the Vice Dean, all lecturers, the administration staff, my beloved students, the invited guests, the speakers today, Professor Gary, Dr. Juari, and distinguished guests. Firstly, I would like to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to deliver my presentation. Here I'm the first presenter, and I would like to deliver my presentation related to the topic today, that is international publication. Although here I'm still beginner, but I'm trying to be, to deliver something knowledge for all audience here. Hopefully it can be useful for your publication. Okay, let me share the screen. Can you see it here? Moderator?
Yes, clearly, ma'am.
Is it clear?
Visible. Yes, it is clear.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I see here the participants is not only from Indonesia, but also from abroad. Yeah, welcome here, welcome in Indonesia, ladies and gentlemen, although via Zoom online. Okay, the first, I would like to tell about the importance of an international publication. By the way, I would like to ask all the audience, by the way, have you ever had any experiences of publishing your article internationally? If yes, would you please raise up your hands, please? Okay, we are still waiting. I will repeat my question once more. Have you had any experiences before to publish your article in an international journal? You can use your reaction, or you can raise your hands. Okay. Yes, of course, Professor Dr. Gary. Raise hand. You are the master, sir. How about another invited guest or all participants? Have you ever had any experiences in publishing your article in international journal? Okay, thank you for your response. I'm sure that the audience here, some of them are good in publication. I mean, you have already had any experiences before publishing your article in an international journal, but perhaps some of the audience here haven't had any experiences. Okay, let's learn together how to publish our article in an international journal. My next question is, do you agree or not, ladies and gentlemen, if the international publication journal spend time and cost? Do you agree? Yeah, would you please type something in the chat room if you agree or if you disagree? Okay, two response. I'm still beginner, but I hope someday I will be. Okay, thank you, Miss Eka Kurnia. Yes, I agree that publication spend time and cost. Okay, let's make this because we have to know journal. Publish an article in an international journal using precise foreign language. Here, English in English gives the author opportunity to plunge into creative environment of other countries, like a scientist working on his authority and learns new things in the same time. And publication of scientific article in the international journal broadens the mind of the author. So I'm sure that all audiences here have ever conducted a research, and the result of the research can be written down in the article and created based on the guidelines of journal, then publish it internationally. And you know that the higher is the scientist citation, the more popular he is. Do you agree or not, ladies and gentlemen, with this statement? The higher is the scientist citation, the more popular he is.
Yes, we agree.
Yes, okay. I do agree. Next. Did you know that, ladies and gentlemen, nowadays to be published in an international journal is a serious intention to show the talent to public. Even web journal can enhance the credibility of the author. However, it is not easy to achieve the publication in the reputable international journal. There should be a big effort to reach the success, and there are great perspectives in case of success. Now, I'm going to tell you the benefits of publishing in an international journal. You may see the picture here. Ranking, quality of writing, prizes, grants, and scholarship. So this is the importance of international publishing. What does it mean with the ranking? The ranking here is the main factor for ranking universities. So for the universities who have published internationally with high ranking, it means that, of course, high rank of the university too. And the second is the quality of writing. It means that improve the quality of writing as the article is reviewed by international editorial board. So if you get review, of course you have to revise it, and it can give you opportunity to improve the quality of your writing, because what you have written, it will be published internationally. And of course, the reviewer is not from your own country, but from different countries. And the expertise. And the third is highly cited articles. Means that article is published internationally. So if you publish your article internationally, of course, uh, you can get highly cited articles from other people from other countries. And the next is prizes. Universities and other associations provide prizes. For example, in my university in UNUSA, will give award, or we have like internal research, especially for the scheme. Di sini skemanya utama ya, for international research. So here there will be a prize, or it means that the incentive from the university, and perhaps it can be from other association also provide prizes for those who have already published the article internationally. And the last is grants and scholarship. It means that by publishing the article internationally, it can increase opportunity to obtain or receive grants and scholarship. So if you want to continue your study further for the master degree or doctoral degree, it can be the recommendation for the institution who will hire you or who will accept you as the students of the doctoral degree or master degree. Okay, next, let's see. Advantages from reputable international journal publication. Here's I get it from the research conducted by Arshad et al. In 2019 to the university lecturers or professors in Indonesia from publishing the research results in reputable international journals in English. As you can see in the table here, the first column, advantages from published national journals. The first for financial incentive. The second is for personal credibility. The third is for personal government official. And the fifth is for institution credibility. But here there are, this is a questionnaire. Yeah, the instrument is the questionnaire, and the option is do not affect at all, affect a little, affect enough, affect very much but not determining, and the last is affect the most. And all of them are in percents or percentage. Okay, so it concludes that the first is credit points for career promotion. To publish your article in international journal. Institution, it can be said good if it has high international publication. Many publication, international especially, not only national. And the third is self-satisfaction or pride, because you know that having international publication here, we can publish our article internationally. And the last is personal credibility. Someone can be said credible if you have international journal publication. Do you agree or not, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, we agree.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel it too. That's why I agree with this. And this is not only, that this data is accurate and valid, because this is from the research conducted by Arshad et al. Yeah, with a team in 2019 to university lecturers or professors in Indonesia from publishing the research results in reputable international journals in English. Okay, next. Now I would like to show you the publishing stages. Here, there are some stages for publishing your article. The first is pre-writing. In pre-writing, you have to consider first, develop outline of manuscript. Here, manuscript is the article, the draft of your article. And the second, select a target journal. So for selecting a target journal, you have to pick the right journal before it is published. If not, you will be disappointed or regret if you pick the wrong journal. For example, predatory journal, or if it's discontinued, you will feel disappointed. So please be careful in selecting a target journal. And the third is read others' guidelines. Absolutely, each journal has its own guidelines. Therefore, you have to consider the guidelines of each journal, because they have different rules of writing the article. Okay, next, the second stage is writing, which consists of the first, methodology, the second is results, the third, discussion, the fourth, introduction, the fifth, abstract, the sixth, graphical abstracts, the seventh, research highlights, the eighth, title, the ninth, proofreading, and the last is internal review. So for writing stage, there are 10 steps. Next, for post writing, the first is you have to write cover letter, select potential reviewers, submission journal. Yeah, okay, the fourth is revision, resubmission. The fifth is acceptance. The sixth is approval of gallery proof. And the last is marketing of published paper. So these are the publishing stages. There are 3 stages for publishing your article internationally, and it will be explained further and deeply by Professor Gary and Dr. Juari, especially for the techniques of how to write international journal publication. So please follow, join this event, start from the beginning until the end, because you can find out the techniques of how to write the international journal publication. Okay, next is how to choose the right journal for your manuscript. As you can see here, the international publishing houses, they are Springer, Wiley, Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, Sagi Journals, Cambridge University Press, Oxford University Press. Yeah, I'm just talking with these publishing houses because, actually there are other publishing houses, but today our event, the scope here, the majority is in education, so I only share with these publishing houses. Actually, there are other publishing houses, but different scope or different field. Okay, before going here, I would like to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, from all of these international publishing houses, which one that you have already known, or which one you have already published your article in? This you can type in the chat room. How about this one? Have you ever known about this before? Which one is Scopus? Many people say Scopus, Scopus, Scopus. So which one is Scopus? Anyone? Okay. Someone is sudah tahu semua, ma'am. Elspire. Okay, that's my student. Good. My good student. Sudah tahu semua. By the way, have you ever published in all these publishing houses, Nabila Putri?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet. How about one of them? Have you ever published in it?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay, yeah. Keep trying, okay? Because you are my student, let's learn together how to publish article in international journal, okay? But you should be optimistic. Next. Choosing a target journal. Here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 points. The first is, if you want to choose a target journal, you have to consider the first is the scope of the journal. What is the scope of your journal? What does it mean, the scope? Apa maksudnya scope itu ya? Bidang? Yeah, the field, research, the scope. Yes, for example, I'm in education. So of course, I have to choose education journal. But if I want to be more specific with the journal, for example, English language education, I can choose language education journal. Or perhaps in this case, I can mention one of them is TESOL quarterly. Okay, next, target audience. So you have to know your audience, I mean the readers of your article. So they are in the same background. So of course, here you have to know the scope first and the target of the audience. For example, the teacher, the lecturer, the students, from what background of education. For example, for doctoral, I'm sure that the higher rank of international publication, so the background of the education will be higher too. Yeah, that's why the second point is the target audience. And the third is the types of article published. We have to know types of our article that will be published in the journal, international journal, whether it is quantitative, or qualitative. If it's quantitative, please prefer to choose. If it's quantitative, choose quantitative. If qualitative, choose qualitative. It makes, yeah, it enables you to publish your article. So if you know that the journal is quantitative, so it will be difficult for you to publish your qualitative article, article of your research there in that journal, because it doesn't have the same type. Next, open access option. You must know whether the international journal is open access or not. Sometimes the journal is only supported open access, not the real open access. That's why you have to check whether the journal is open access or not. The next is impact factor. I have my own slide about this, so I'm going to explain it further later, okay? And next, journal indexing. You have to know your journal has what index. You can check it. I will tell you how to check your journal index. The next is acceptance rate and speed. If the journal has a good speed in acceptance, it will be better than choosing journal that is very long for being accepted. Have you ever had any experiences? You have already submitted your article, but you wait very long time to be accepted in that publisher. Have you ever had any experiences with this? Oh, it's very long. No comment, no review from the reviewer, no response. Yeah. So you should be, what's that? You have to be careful with this, because if you have your own deadline, for example, you have deadline for having publication for doctoral degree, or perhaps your internal research project. So you have to consider the time, and speed for acceptance is very important here to consider. The next is publication speed and frequency. Here, after being accepted, after it is accepted, after acceptance, of course, publication. So here, you have to find out the publication speed and frequency of that journal. I'm worried if the journal that you want to publish your article is discontinued. Yeah, I'm afraid if you will feel disappointed or you feel regret with what you have submitted, because international journal, not all journals are still active, sometimes discontinued.
5 minutes more, ma'am.
Sorry?
5 minutes more.
Okay. And this is the recommendation for Elsevier Journal Finder. You can go to this site. Because of the time, I cannot open directly to you. I'm afraid that the time is not enough. But if I still have time, after having last slide, I will tell you how to open it. But you can open with this site, journalfinder.elsevier. And the next recommendation is journal guide. If you want to find the best journal for your research, you can go to the www.journalguide.com. You can fill in the scope, what you want, what kind of journal that you want to publish your article, then please click search. It's already open for you, so you can be free to choose. And the next recommendation is Springer Journal Suggester. Here, you can go to the journal suggester.springer.com. Okay, next about citation metrics. What is citation metrics? Citation metrics measure the reuse of research within the published academic community. And here, quality is assumed by the understanding that have had an impact upon the research that cited them. Can you see here? These are journal indexing services, starting from Web of Science, Elsevier, or Scopus. Okay, it's already answered. The previous, I'm asking you, which one is Scopus? Yeah, Elsevier. Mr. Gary is the master of Scopus, so he will give you explanation more about this. And for DOAJ, Direct Open Access Journal. And the last is Google Scholar. For the quality, look at this, the quality, yeah, this is from high to low. Was to Google Scholar. How about this? From the coverage, low, wide. Okay, and it's up to you which one that you want to publish your article. You have your own authority to choose your journal for your publication. Yeah, this is the picture of its points. And next, Scopus. Scopus is something frightening right now. Yeah, because that is the requirement for the doctoral degree and also perhaps the master's degree before having graduation. So here, what is Scopus? Scopus officially names Cipher Scopus is a bibliographic database containing abstracts and citation for academic journal articles. It covers nearly 18,000 titles, including coverage of 16,500 peer-reviewed journals. It is owned by Elsevier and is available online by subscription. In UNUSA, Alhamdulillah, if I'm not mistaken, we have already subscribed the collection of Elsevier journal in our library. So we can get to know the, what's that? The article. For example, I'm majoring in education. So I just click education to find out the article related to the education. And two among three of the most popular world university ranking systems uses Scopus to calculate publication. Times Higher Education World University Rankings based on this site. And QS World University Rankings. So Scopus here is still the king of publication, but it's still frightening for some people. And to check whether Scopus Journal index or not, please go to this website. You can go to www.simagojer.com. Okay, or you may go to the scopus.com. In this site, simagojer.com, you can find out the journal ranks, the country ranks, and the festivals. I haven't looked based on the country rank, Indonesia in which rank. I hope that someday it will be higher. Because you know that the doctoral degree here, the requirement is having international publication. Okay, so this is the scopus.com that I have told you. Okay, so if you want to check whether the Scopus journal is predator or is discontinued or not, you can check in ISS from the ISSN or from the publisher here. Jadi kalau yang atas ini ISSN based on the number, while here from the publisher. Just type it, then click find sources. It's already open. And now impact factor. Tadi saya sudah nyebut impact factor. What is impact factor? The journal impact factor, or IF, is published each year by Thomson Reuters. Measure number of times an average paper in a particular journal is referred to. Like this. And where can we find journal impact factor? We can see it here. This is an example of the article by J. Webb. So this is the journal, the name of the journal. This is the publisher, and this is the DOI link. So from these points, that's the clue. Okay, next, next, cite articles from the journal you want to submit to favored by journals looking to increase citation. If citation is very hard, since similar articles is rare or non-existent, then perhaps you have, then perhaps you have the wrong journal to submit to. Okay, I will repeat once more. If citation is very hard, since similar articles is rare or non-existent, then perhaps you have the wrong journal to submit to. I have some tips for getting your journal article published. Although I'm still a beginner, but I'm trying to give you the best, tips to publish your journal article internationally. Okay, the first is prepare your draft article. Publish the quality over the quantity. The most important is the quality. And the second is pick the right journal, whether it's qualitative or quantitative. So based on the journal and based on the scope of the journal. For example, if I'm in education, so please choose the education journal. And the third, follow the guidelines of the journal based on the requirements in the journal. If not, your article will be rejected. The fourth, use the relevant references. Consider the relevant theory, the latest issue, novelty, and the previous articles. And the fifth, consider the co-writers will be the first, the first, second, the third author, set expectation for co-publishing. Okay, so for example, my team is Mr. Autar, Mr. Edi, Mr. Didin, so I should discuss with them first. Who will be the first? Who will be the second? Who will be the third author for this publication? Okay, next, the sixth is learn from the rejection. Don't be disappointed and there is no movement anymore. We should keep spirit to have international publication. Rejection is something common, but we should be optimistic. And the last is keep enjoying the process of article review until it is published. Okay, I have something to say to you, all audience. Failure is a success delayed. If you're fail to plan, you're planning to failure. But if you're successful to plan, you're planning to success. And please keep struggling and keep spirit to write an international publication. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Give applause for awesome presentation from this Saputri.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let me read the conclusion. I just read it briefly. Yes. So that this is so as that publishing journal publication is have many benefits, and most of them is for the points of career promotion and for institution credibility. And then she said about publishing stage, yeah, there are pre-writing, writing, post-writing process. And then you should choose the right journal for your manuscript, yeah. The, there is there are Xavier Springer, yeah, as a Scopus journal. And then you should choose a target journal from the scope of the journal until publication speed and frequency. And then she told us about Scopus. Scopus official name skills for Scopus, and then believed by many uh, pre-record journal, yeah. And then the last she said to us, don't worry of rejection, that is usual in the field and keep on spirit. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Tiasa Putri, for your awesome presentation. Now, the next session is presentation from Mr. Dr. Dr. Juwari M. Hum. Okay, Mr. How are you today? Mr. Juwari?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, everyone, and especially the Honorable Rector and the Vice, all the deans, and also the directors in every division of the university, and my good friend, the guest lecturer, Professor Dr. Gary Linzian. Welcome. Thank you very much for your participation. And also all of the participants, the speaker, the previous speaker, Ibu Tias. And I would like to share my
Wait, doctor. I haven't read your CV. Let me read your CV first.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You didn't
okay.
please me at that time. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
I read first. Yeah. I read the CV of Mr. Juwari, Dr. Juwari, education undergraduate of S1 degree in English Department and Institute of Teacher Training and Education and Teacher Training in Surabaya, 1987. Master of degree in teaching English as foreign language level at Catholic University Atma Jaya, Jakarta, 1997. Doctoral degree in English language education at State University UM Malang in 2005. Organization: 1. President of International Association of Scholarly Publishers, Editors, and Reviewers, YASPER, since 2016. Vice President of Community of Asian Researchers and Educators, CAR, since 2020. 3. Editor and reviewers of some national journals since 1989. 4. Editor and reviewer of some international journals since 2012. Publication in international research journals and some national and international news media in Philippines, California, the USA, Bangalore, India, that can be browsed out on about Juwari on this link. FTP and so on. Yeah, you can ask Mr. Juwari himself. Okay, please welcome Mr. Juwari. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Sir.
I hope that can you see my PowerPoint, everyone?
Very clearly.
Okay, yeah. So, citing, synthesizing, and creating the novelty. Audience, this is actually based on my experience in reading some of the articles that are published in my journals, in some of the international journal in the ASEAN and also in Indonesia. We are lucky because now in the technology era, we have some instrument or equipments of correcting our spelling, correcting our grammars, and even citing and so on and so forth. But the problem is all the machine here cannot detect the logic or the fluency. I mean the way how we create the cited sentences into our own or original ideas. This is the problem. So we are lucky. If we have problem with the grammar, we can check our using grammar machine and so on and so forth. But whenever relating to the logic and also the way how to create and synthesizing, it is very difficult for us if we try to the machine. Yeah. So now I would like to share about this. Before creating the novelty, I want to talk about the two essential subtopics. So citing is always in the building the framework. And then after that, the synthesizing. If we have done to this, then there will be a novelty. And that is our own idea. So I will go quickly about this. Why the two topics there are essential, because citing mostly in the framework. So citing is also building the framework. Again, we have synthesis one, that is the process of the level one, and synthesis two, the process of level two, synthesis three, and so on and so forth. The more we have synthesized, the higher our rank of thinking or reasoning. And the last, or the lower, that is the other way around. And that is actually, let me show you after this. So the central point in a research writing that is full of citing activities is in the literature review or theoretical framework. And this point is very important for any authors, especially for the non-native speaker if it is in English. But even if it is in Bahasa Indonesia, this is also still important, because this can create our own idea, including determining the methodology and also for discussion. If we don't have any correct literature review, great one, then it is also influential to our methodology and our discussion. And therefore, this is the central point in my opinion. Yeah. If you look at this, then this is the more important thing. The next one. What is our framework based on references we cited? Even though the authors, the writers, after writing their articles, maybe they like this, but we can see from their writing. So we can see from the writing that actually the writers or the authors can be like this. So confused. Yeah, confused. He or she looked confused, not because of the physical appearance, but from the writing. Now, citation, but the author tends to be lacking all of the sentences without analyzing. I want to give you an analogy of filtering all the sources. So the funnel, and that is the full, the small poles here. The small poles here are the references, but what we have to get is only a drop of the water, and that is novelty. Whatever, even though it is small, and then even very, very small, or we can say tiny, as long as it is new, our own, and that is the best, rather than we just, having some writing that are very thick, oh God, my God, that are, wait a minute, I wanted, okay. So research synthesis is the integration of existing knowledge and research finding pertinent to an issue. The aim of synthesis is to increase the generality and applicability of those findings and to develop new knowledge through the process of integration. So references that we cited, previous studies that we recorded, all we have interviewed, observed, and experienced are like the data scattering on the floor. But we have filtered, and then we try to get the similarity if we have found it, or we can also try to find the differences. From this, then we try to integrate, and that is our own new knowledge. This is the analogy. So synthesizing is then combining different aspects of our ideas and research and the ideas of others in order to produce new ideas. And this is, if we can do this, the readers can be mapped, their minds can be mapped by our own writings. So mapping allows the readers to build new and the meaningful knowledge links by active engagement. Now, this is the picture. Research plus more plus our ideas. So not only research, but also plus our ideas. And that is equal new ideas. That is equal new ideas. And from this, the process can be done by reading the survey. This is the example, the synthesizing without synthesizing. Yeah. France in 2008 studied undergraduate online students. He looks at 17 females and 18 female, blah, blah, blah. According to France, the evidence suggested that all students are reluctant to learn excited citation style. Paris 2010 also studies blah, blah, blah. Then findings suggest that females might graduate sooner. Guston in 2012 looked at these are the data. It is like a table. These are the columns, but we need the head of the letter, the table that is on the top. So what we have cited, what we have written like this, without any idea that comes to from our mind, then here are nothing. And there is very often, there is no comment, there is no analysis, there is no, yes, of course, synthesis. And this is, yeah, but this one is, yes, this one, a good framework. Studies of undergraduate students reveal conflicting conclusions regarding relationship between advanced scholarly study and citation efficacy. The top sentence is the author's idea after reading the references below that. So from this, then the readers are dragged into that kind of generality. So although France found that no participant enjoyed learning citation style, Coulson, using although, why Coulson? Because the two citations are quite contradictory. And this is the showing that actually the readers, the authors, after citing, understand the content what has been already cited. Yeah. Although, why using although? Because students determined in a later study that all participants felt comfortable citing sources, suggesting that variable blah blah blah. Now, although Paris expanded on France's original study with a larger, more different, and so on and so forth. So after reading this, then we have to analyze whether they are similar or whether they are different. If they are similar, then summarize what is the similarity or what are the similarities. If they are different, what is the difference or what are the differences? And from that, we have to cite, we have to state using our own idea. And that is a good writing like this. Better, yeah. And this one, next slide. So step to synthesize. Yeah, I would like to go directly. Number one is organize the sources. Yeah, after reading, of course, and outline the structure of the order of the ideas after the citing. Write paragraphs with the topic sentences. It can be in the initial paragraph or the last, depending on whether we use using the generality first or the topic first. And then write paragraph with topic sentence and revise, edit, and proofread. Number 4, here needs time. Yeah. So I agree with was stated by our previous presenter. The definition of writing here is from pre-writing, writing, and the process of editing. From this, then, step one, organize your sources. That is more practical and better for especially the novice or the students who are reading the thesis. Write all citations depending on the sources of the research we have read and summarize. Draw a table with the columns related to the research body. This is especially for the teachers to teach the students who are still writing their thesis or description or dissertation. Draw a table. Now check the similarities and the differences. From this, we know. From this, so we have to be very careful in this one, rather than we just write without analyzing. Try to summarize based on that checklist. Now let's go on. Step 2, outline your structure. We can organize either chronologically, if we can do it using chronological after we analyze our references that we have already cited, or we can use also thematically. Thematically. Facilities are important. Besides that, expertise is also vital. Finally, home condition is also essential, extra. So facilities, expert, home condition. So this is thematic. Thematically, this is also a good for us. Not difficult, especially for the novice writer, and then especially the writers who have never done synthesizing in their article, because I have already read some of the articles that are scattering without being synthesized and analyzed. Step 3, write the paragraph with the topic sentence, summarize the paragraph, discuss the differences if they are different, based on their similarities or differences, and condense the summary based on point 2. If we do like this, I guarantee that especially the Grammarly machine, plagiarism machine will be, we will be free from that. Not so high. So step 4, revise, edit, and proofread. If we write article, finish, and we submit, it is very dangerous. We have to edit and edit and edit and edit. Better, we can also proofread other readers, and therefore in the journal we are also provided with the proofreader. And reread the paragraph in the summary. Edit when necessary according to each of the sources based on the similarities and differences. So proofread, however, you can still need other reviewers or readers to proofread. Now remember, the definition of writing is, you can check any definition in right English, drafting or rewriting. This is the definition of writing. Writing, the process, and revising 3 times the definition here. Meaning that we cannot do writing at a glance and then we submit. No. Especially if we are, given the deadline, okay, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, and that it may happen like that. So a good writing is the writing that is done, very patiently, and needs time also. Revising, and revising. There are 3 times with revising the definition of writing. Now, this is the example. So, Edward, 2019, not 29. Any articles, whatever the scope, the abstract, if we cannot read the whole, the article, but better we read the whole. Any article published, whether it is Scopus or whatever indexer, the abstract should be at least, objective methodology and conclusion. More than that, topic, and the other one is evaluation or recommendation or whatever, suggestion. So any abstract, if you are the publisher of the journal and lack of these 3, don't publish it, because it is not good abstract. So try to find any abstract at random, check, especially the Scopus 1, 2, or 3. There must be objective methodology and conclusion. You can try to summarize like this. So the objective is to examine the factors. This is Edward 2019. Methodology, quantitative, descriptive, statistics using FPSS, 70 respondent senior high school student. Conclusion, school facilities very dominant, affecting motivation. So the evaluation, school facilities should be paid attention in order to increase student motivation. So abstract number 2, 2010. To find the objective is to find out factors are increasing the learners' motivation. The methodology, qualitative interview, 130 student respondent high school, etc. And then the conclusion, teachers' expertise affecting motivation commonly, and then teacher skill, teacher skill help learners, blah, blah, blah. And the last one, Christopher, 2011, to analyze factors affecting learners' motivation. The methodology, descriptive, statistic, FPS, and so on, 25 respondent, and also the way of how to analyze. And home condition is the most important to increase motivation. And evaluation, in order to increase, from this abstract only 3, we can write a good article. So, Edward, Brown, Christopher. But we have to describe by ourselves using our own. And it will not be the same as copy paste, copy paste. From this, it's very easy. Only 3 abstract. But if we read the whole article, you will be more, getting higher knowledge about this. And this is, for example, wider team, factor affecting the student motivation. If we click this one in the Google Scholar, 100 or even 1,000, and just take only 3 like this. Now this is using our own language from that kind of table. Facilities at school have important roles in the effort of increasing students' motivation to learn. It can be proved by 70 students analyzed in research, Edward, blah, blah, blah. Such too, teacher skill or expertise is essential for making the student. This is our own language from the previous table. Brown found that the student with his high score in his study were motivated in their learning due to their teachers who have good expertise in teaching, blah, blah, blah. Number 3, the students are highly motivated in their learning due to their good home condition. Christopher, 2011, in his finding, proved that the student with their home condition got high score, blah, blah, blah. And from this, then, we try to put into paragraph this one. Our own language. And the red sentence color here that is our idea. And if we check using grammar plagiarism machine, it will be free. The question may be like this. So, after being checked by the machine, but can still have the similarities. It happened to be the same, but it is not the similarity of copy pasting. Copy paste, not the. This is our own. So facilities at school, teacher skill, and home condition are the 3 factors that can increase student motivation. This is our own idea from the 3 references that we have already cited. If we read like this, then after this is the example, meaning that the writers understand what they have already cited. 3 sources, and then understand. So facilities at school have an important role at the effort of increasing student motivation. Edward, the student with complete facility proves to make blah, blah, blah. And Brown found that student with high score interviewed blah, blah, blah. And Christopher is finding that proof that the student with condition. And edit again like this. Using first another factor, not only but also look very easy to understand. And the reviewer, the readers, can get very easily what is actually stated in this citation. So facilities at school, teacher skill, and home condition are the three factors that can increase student motivation. First, a study conducted by this is chronological. For example, 17. Another factor that can affect blah, blah, blah. Not only school facilities and the teachers' expertise. First of all, after in the blah, 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 he also found home condition. So first, another factor, not only also actually tailoring the ideas of the authors or the writers from analyzing the differences or the similarities of the references that he or she have already cited. This is the best one. This is the best one. If you do that, then you have the readers like this. Mind mapping by the readers led by the best writer in academic writing or reading a novel. So if you read like that, the previous paragraph, first, not only, but also, automatically our brain then maps by itself. Yes. So in mind map, information is structured in a way that mirrors exactly how the brain functions in a radiant rather than linear manner. Literally, it maps out our thought using association, connection, and triggers to simulate further. So mapping is like this. We help the readers easily to understand, to understand what we have already cited and we have already presented in writing. Very easy and practical. If we can do it like this, you can also teach our students like to do this one. So reading only 3 abstract. The framework being mapped automatically like this. For example, school teachers, hypothesis 1, for example, has an influence or effect on student motivation. Or hypothesis 2, the teachers' experts has an effect significantly on blah, blah, blah. And this is the framework being mapped and the picture or figure. Without this, the readers already got their mapping in their mind, but this is also helpful. The more the several theoretical framework, the better and the highest. And therefore, this is the framework in middle level. So Brown, now look the underline, I underline by myself. Brown argued that learning English as a second language is different from learning English as a foreign language. Different. Another finding, according to David, unlike this, there is no difference between learning English as a second language and that English as a foreign language when, this is the condition, the classroom process is made meaningful. From the two here, then we create synthesis 1. Learning English as a second language, yes. Learning English as the second language is similar to learning English as foreign language, provided that the classroom process is made meaningful. This is from synthesis and antithesis, and our own idea is synthesis 1. If we look at like this, I believe it can be published, for example, Scopus key 3 or 4. It's okay. Yeah. And the next one, after doing this, then try to have this one. Actually, the level of synthesis, so many. So thesis, antithesis, this is maybe Scopus 3 or 4. Synthesis, this is over 3 or 2. And then this absolute idea here, synthesis, this it should be Scopus 1 or Scopus level key 2. Unfortunately, after reading some of the articles in Scopus 1, 2, 3, and 4, not all of them are depending on this. I don't know, but this actually my recommendation, especially whenever I present the about the material here in some of the editors in foreign international conference. Yeah. So this one, framework in higher level. So learning English as a second language is similar to language, provided that the classroom process is made meaningful. But we try to learn another reason. As I told you, whenever you click the title or the influence of English and so on in the Google Scholar, we have hundreds. Yeah, we have hundreds, even million. Yeah. And antithesis to, we still have learning any language, whether it is English as foreign language, EFL, or English as second language, ESL, does not always require target language exactly the same as the native speaker way of acquisition. I agree with this. Even though we learn English the whole life, if I am not a native speaker, I cannot be absolutely the same as native speaker. We have difference. And this is also antithesis too. Many people always ask the student who learn English to be like American English, British English, Australian English. And actually, no. As long as our English can be understand communicative, it's okay, because we have Indian English, Singapore English, Australian English, and Asia English, many English, but they pronounce and accent differently, but in writing, must be the same. And this is when looking at what English is, learning English tend to be learned communicatively. English is spoken by many nations with their identities. So we cannot speak English to be likely 100% like American English. We cannot speak English to be 100% like British English or even Australian English like Professor Dr. Gary Linehan. Characterizes their typical talents and their varieties. In that case, there is no different. This is David Gradle in 2017. From this, then we try to make a synthesis. This is the higher synthesis. This is so. If I read the article in this level, I accept. But actually, I know this is the level. If it is about this one is good level, and this one is the higher level. And therefore, the last synthesis, another synthesis, learning English for the learners is more complex problem. But when the teachers understand the condition, that is the second synthesis of the learners, whether they are learners of EFL or ESL, differences among learners, this is the last one, background can be taken into account when the classroom process begins. This is the higher level. If there is an article in this level, I recommend this be published in Scopus 1 or 2. Yes. And that is actually the whenever we try to draw in the figure, it's like this. Yeah. So EFL, ESL, and L1. Yeah. And I want to check this one. I have read like this. And the other one is like this. Now look at this. Arthur argued that the learner's first language, blah, blah, blah. Bradley found that the learner's first language system, blah, blah, blah. Christopher found in his research that the learners there is no comment. There is no, idea. There is no analysis from the writer or the author. This is bad academic writing to know new ideas created from the citation. It shows that the author is unable to analyze what he has cited. If we read like this, even though the writer or the author looks fresh, I can guess, we can judge that he is actually confused. But the right side is good. Longer but easier to understand. Some studies have found that learners' first language can affect their target language acquisition in the classroom. This is our argument. Why? Based on first, another, like Arthur and Bradley, Christopher also agreed that the learners. So very easy. If we understand, we read this the right side, it is very easy to understand, and we know what actually the authors want to say. His idea after reading the cited references. But the left side, confusing. So what actually the writer want to say? This is editors, reviewers should be, cognizant, not only careful but cognizant in this way of writing. Why? Because organization in synthesizing is important rather than the grammar. Grammar can be checked by using the machine, or you can consult, to the native speaker, if you have, this is. But this organization machine cannot detect this, and this is the example of my idea. So this is the tip, the tip of, please start from now on. Do introduce the paragraph with a clear. Do I introduce the paragraph with a clear focus topic sentence? If no, meaning we are confusing. We are confused, or our writing is confusing. Do I discuss more than one source in the paragraph? Yes. Similarities. Do I mention only the most relevant finding rather than describing every part? Do I discuss the similarities or differences? Do I put the finding or argument of the resources in my own words? Number 5 is good. Is the paragraph organized around a single idea? And is the paragraph directly relevant to my research question topic? Is there logical transition? This is very important. Transition of the logical connector is very important in writing, because it can help the readers understand our idea easily. If we read the paragraph that we cannot get the meaning, the idea, the gist, meaning that the paragraph is confusing. Yes, this is the references that I have got from references for making this PowerPoint for the material. Thank you very much, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you. Give applause for his awesome presentation. It's very good, Doctor. Okay, let me read the conclusion or a while. Okay, I get from this point that is citing is for building the framework. Yes, we should take several sentences and then building the framework. The central point of research writing that is full of citing activities, introduction, literature review, methodology, result discussion, conclusion is more. We should keep the procedure rightly. Okay. What is synthesizing? Synthesizing is combining different aspects of your ideas and research and the ideas of others in order to produce new ideas. So that from the analogy, research plus more research plus your ideas equals new ideas. Yes. So that we should add our ideas ourselves. Yeah. There are 4 steps: organize the source, outline the structure, write paragraph with sentence, revise, edit, and proofread. And then list them on the table from source, aim, objective, methodology, conclusion, and evaluation. After that, summarize the main point of argument related to the small themes. And then the most important more are framework being mapped. Mind mapping is so important for us. And then using thesis antithesis technique as well. A bad academic writing is created from the station but cannot analyze what he has said. That's my conclusion. Now on the next session from Dr. Kerry. How are you, sir?
Hello, Mr. Eddie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Let me read the CV from Professor Dr. G. Lintal from Tashkent State University of Law. Dr. Jerry Little holds a Sydney University Law degree, a Sydney College of Law graduate diploma in legal practice, a Melbourne High Distinction Master's degree in Freudian and Lacanian psychoanalysis, and postgraduate doctorate in the history of and development of the intellectual property thought of passing off. He is widely published internationally. Dr. Lilian Sal was senior lecturer in law at the Northern University of Malaysia, associate professor of law and scholar in residence at Symbiosis University in India, and full professor of law at the University of Gondar in the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. He is now professor of law by the vice chancellor appointment at Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad in India, and professor of the university at Tashkent State University of Law. He is visiting professor at the PR School of Management and Commerce in Chennai, India, and sit on the research committee at Saint Aloys College in Jabalpur, India. Dr. Lilienthal has published a suite of 3 research pieces of the character of diplomatic law. He has published Corpus Index pilot research into the genesis of water rights. He is currently heading multinational research project into water rights in the River Nile Basin. He has published a Scopus Indexes book entitled Human Capital and Development, published by Nova Science Publisher in New York City, leading several professional chapter authors. All right, please welcome Dr. Kerry. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. I'll take the screen and share my PowerPoint. Everyone can see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. We just go to Honorable and respected Rector, directors, deans, colleagues and friends. It's wonderful to be here with you today, even although, as Dr. Juwari reminds us, that my accent in English is very different. It's the Australian accent. When I began to teach in Malaysia, there were very many Iraqi students who complained to the dean that I was not speaking English at all.
Oh, yeah.
What can I say? They are right, of course. They're our students. So I'll try and speak slowly today. So may I say in beginning that Madame Tias Saputri taught me more how to teach article writing today. She is very good teaching this. She did things I never even thought of to teach the students. I'm very impressed. And Dr. Juwari reminded us how very bad we are with antithesis, because nobody ever reads Hegel's dialectic. Because Hegel is in the 19th century, so who reads it? It's an old book. So how can we understand? But synthesis is at the center of everything, and synthesis is what gives us a Scopus article. My presentation today is entitled Writing Articles for Scopus Publication, and I want to suggest to you that the strategy for doing this is a little different from what we've been talking about today, in that I restrict it to doctrinal and qualitative research for reasons that I'll explain as we go through. And those reasons will be associated with 1, teaching, and 2, using our research as pilot projects for generating research funding. That's why we use these kinds of research. So in our second PowerPoint, this is what I want to cover today. First, doctrinal research. And doctrinal research is the methodology used in researching law, generally not used so much by people from other faculties, but it's a very good way of getting a Scopus publication. And it means that the critical literature review is distributed throughout the paper. You don't actually have to write it in critical literature review form. Secondly, we go on to referencing, and Dr. Juwari alluded to this. It's an absolutely critical part of writing a good paper. As I say to the students, please do the referencing while you are writing the paper, not after you have written it. I can't tell you how many PhD students write a chapter of 10,000 words with no referencing and then have to go back and do it later, so it's rubbish. It's very important to do it while you're writing. And so today we're going to learn a structural technique that ensures you do your referencing while you are writing and not putting in confected referencing later on. Then we talk about sources. We talk about sources so that we understand the best quality sources we can use for our writing. And you'll see why I stress this so much when you see more about the kind of structural writing that I recommend to you. Fourth, I want to talk about JSTOR. Do you have access to it, Dr. Juwari, in Indonesia? Can you get it? The JSTOR journal database? Can get it?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, I got from
good.
email, yeah.
Okay. So JSTOR is of preeminent, paramount importance to us in doctrinal research, and it's great to have access to it. It's not the Scopus database, but many of the journals in there are Scopus indexed. The Scopus database itself is very expensive, and many universities can't afford it. They don't have it. Then I talk about qualitative research, and we use qualitative research as we're using it in the current Scopus indexed book that I'm writing, specifically to appeal to government officials for policy recommendations and research funding. Qualitative research, as opposed to doctrinal research, is a wonderful way to engage very senior government officials. Then we talk about adding the critical lens. Dr. Juwari instructed us so beautifully in the art of synthesis. What I often find when we look at what Dr. Juwari refers to as the writing that where the writer just hasn't been able to take it any further, is that there's nothing to compare the writing to. There's nothing for her, the writer, to find a middle path through between the thesis statement and the likely conclusions in the chains of argument. There's nothing there. There's no reference. So we add a critical lens, and I'll give you an example of lens theory in doctrinal research writing today. Next, because my father was an Air Force pilot, and naturally, as his little boy, I learned to fly a plane as well. He always taught me, son, when you're flying the plane, please know where you are, always. Otherwise, you get lost at 8,000 feet, and it's a very bad feeling. You don't know where to land the plane. And the way you do that in your academic writing is to know your word count at all times and know what your target word count is. It's just as important as knowing what your target journal is. And by the way, I always recommend we should know 3 target journals so that we know what kind of referencing and scope and advice to authors we should follow in constructing our article. Then I talk about Scopus requirements. What do they want? Their requirements for a journal article are a little different, but not much different from what they require for a book. Then the second last topic we talk about today is structural writing. and how to derive a project management schema. Madam Tias averted to this in her presentation. She gave us a management schema for how to put the article together strictly from a management and structural point of view. And then I want to give you, at the end of this presentation, an alternative to publishing in Scopus journals. Because as Madam Tias reminds us, it's terrible trying to get published in these journals. And after 1 year, nobody got back to you, and the editor didn't do a desk decision and didn't send it to the peer reviewers, but might soon, and we don't know. So another way to do it is to write a Scopus indexed book. It's a beautiful organizing principle for the university. All the staff can be involved. Everyone can write their own chapter. There can be an organizing principle on how to structure the chapters, which I give you here. I give you a template on how to structure each article, which is the same as a book chapter. And it can be used for generating government policy, government research funding, and as I said, being an organizational principle for the university's department. So having said that, let's proceed and look first of all at doctrinal research. Now, Sir Isaac Newton said, when somebody said something very nice to him about his research, he said, "All I do is stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm not really a big man at all. I'm this little man here. Can you see this little man? Standing on this demigod's shoulders."
You can.
And in fact, you can see it. The whole idea about standing on the shoulders of giants is that this person here was blind. He was blind because I don't want to tell you too much about what he did, but he went into the king's house and did something with the king's daughter that's a very stupid thing to do if you want to stay alive. And so he lost his sight, and he finally found somebody, a demigod, a blacksmith. And what do blacksmiths do? They refine the metal. They make it harder. They make it longer. Bang, bang, bang. Finally, a beautiful sword comes out of there because of all their refining work. And the blacksmith gave our hero this little demigod who sat on his shoulders and guided him in the direction of the sun, which gave him his sight back, and he was able to refine his principles and produce the right direction in his life. So what Dr. Juwari said about editing, synthesis, antithesis, antithesis, this is the process of standing on the shoulders of giants. And without the synthesis and without the antithesis, you can't produce at the end of your paper's conclusion the extended synthesis that's really your uncovering of the refined principles that the paper has found. So that's what we do in doctrinal research. Now, we've already been over this. I don't want to do it in a lot of detail. Dr. Juwari explained it to us very beautifully. He explained it at the paragraph level. Your article is an argument. Every paragraph is a link in the chain of argument. As Doctor said, every paragraph begins with an as yet unproven proposition, and then the evidence in the paragraph, each of which is footnoted or in-text referenced. I prefer footnotes because I don't like to force the reader to go to the end of the article to find out what the reference really is. He or she can, with footnotes, just go to the bottom of the page and it's all there, no problem. So you see I have the photo of the chain here to demonstrate there are all these paragraphs linked together. And at the end of a subsection of your paper, which is what Dr. Juwari referred to as writing an article thematically, then you have an opportunity to do some final synthesis through that subsection, which can carry through to the conclusion later on. Your argument can be 20 to 30 paragraphs. A simple syllogism of, let's say, all boys with red hair come from Scandinavia. Jimmy is a little boy with red hair. Therefore, Jimmy comes from Scandinavia. It may not be a true syllogism, and that one is definitely fallacious, but it's a syllogism. And that's how we structure the argument. But instead of just a major and a minor proposition, we have 20 to 30 propositional paragraphs, and they are the links in your chain of argument. That's how you structure the article. So some of the purposes of writing in this way is to extract research gaps. We do that if our article, after being published, is going to be used to serve as a pilot study to do further work. Now, one article I have that appears in the JSTOR database is on the live animal export trade. And it talks about how they treat the animals in Australia before they export the animals on the ship to the Middle Eastern countries so that they can go through halal process of the killing. And it exposes some of the problems there and how some of the imams in the Middle East don't exactly like the way the animals are being treated on the ship, but they don't want to upset the community. And so there's problems in that process. So I published that article. It was published in an ISI and Scopus Index journal in Berlin, Germany. And then I took the article, I got in my car and I drove to the Deputy Prime Minister's office and I gave it to him. And I got some consulting out of it. And in that particular government, after the expose I did, we never heard about this trade ever again. And the new government in Australia has now announced that exporting sheep in this way, they're all dying on the ship, of course, thousands of them dying on the ships. It's very upsetting. The new government is going to change the law and stop it so the animals don't suffer anymore. So you can do some good things in life with this kind of research. We use research gaps to postulate research objectives, research questions, and either thesis statements or hypotheses. We generate principles through extended syntheses. Dr. Juwari talked about synthesis. Using that process he mentioned, I add in my process what's called an extended synthesis, which is composed only of principles. Now, I'm honored to be joined today as one of the attendees of this wonderful session by Mrs. Eleanor Gilbert, who is in Canberra, and she is writing a book on proving intent to commit genocide. And we are at the moment editing the chapters so that she can have extended syntheses and she can have lenses, and the whole book is in this form. And hopefully we'll get her a book contract and it'll be a Scopus indexed book. And that will allow her to present that book to a new audience, not just the audience of the people who are suffering Aboriginal genocide, but the people in the United States who generate the policy for these things, because it will be Scopus indexed, and Scopus is a New York organization. And lastly, we use generated principles to formulate interview questions. So we can interview people and that can form the basis of a narrative analysis for qualitative research. Now, let's just have a few definitions here before we go any further. Thesis and hypothesis. These are two similar but quite different things. Both of them are propositions that are unproven. So with a thesis statement and a hypothesis or a hypothesis statement are both bare propositions that have not been proven yet. The thesis, however, is a general statement. It doesn't have names of any human beings or specific names of any buildings or governments or anything like that. It's a general proposition. The hypothesis, on the other hand, you may have many hypotheses in, for example, PhD research, is a specific proposition. It's much more specific than I have to turn the sound of my phone off. It's much more specific than a thesis statement. And it means that the kind of proof you do is much more specific than the doctrinal research we use to prove or disprove thesis statements. Synthesis. I don't want to go into it in too much detail because our previous speaker has done such a wonderful job for us. But let me say that from a psychoanalytic point of view, that the more you edit the paper, and after all, editing is 90% of the writing process, the more your mind engages with editing the paper, the more your unconscious mind becomes expert in the subject matter, in the topic. So that later, when everything's set out beautifully, as well as a printer would do it, you're able to do a close reading of that paper. I call it a close reading. And the insights will come to you from your expert unconscious mind. This is the psychoanalytic process. And those insights are the syntheses. And we will see that in this writing process, you allow those insights to flow freely. You write them in immediately, and it will allow you later to reverse engineer your thesis statement for the paper. Because for a publishable paper, we reverse engineer the entire introduction, and the thesis statement is stated in the introduction. Let's move on to referencing. As I said, I prefer footnotes. Many people prefer the in-text referencing style, such as Harvard or APA. I don't like it much. So APA is a system of in-text notations. You'll have a sentence, maybe at the end of the sentence, there'll be an open round bracket, and it will say Saputri, 2001, end of closed bracket. And that's the APA closed reference. You must have open next to you, when you work with your referencing, an APA referencing guide. I think APA 7 is out now. Used to be APA 6. I think APA 7 has been released. It's a very good idea to have that open while you're working, because APA amongst psychologists is like a religion. And if you don't do your referencing properly, they get very angry with you and won't publish your paper. So you must learn to work with referencing, as I say to people, just like you're working in a 19th century printer's office and you're putting the printer's type in there and getting the ink all over your fingers. That's what we have to do as authors these days. Dr. Jawari, I'm sure you agree, we have to produce a manuscript that's perfect for a printer because they won't do it. We have to do it for them. Okay, now, this is an example of APA referencing. You see the brackets there?
Yes.
And if we go to the next page, that's the list of references at the end of the paper. I don't think we can see it all. There's a bit of an indent here. If you don't do the indents between the first and the second line of each reference, the desk editor of the journal will say, he or she doesn't understand APA referencing, I'm throwing the paper away. Because many of these journals get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of articles, and there's just not enough people to look at them. So you have to do it very, very carefully. You see, I'm rushing because we've already listened to many speakers, and I want to get to the end where the important information is. Let's look at sources now. Now, the reason why I want to talk to you about sources in these terms is because this process goes to JSTOR, finds up to 9 high-quality articles. They must be high-quality sources. We have to judge them for quality. We get rid of any article that's interesting, but is a poor quality source, throw it away. They have to be well referenced and densely referenced. They must have an identifiable argument. If there's too much author's voice and no real argument, throw it away. Too much author's voice in a source is rarely usable in any literature review. Sources should be giants, because unless they are giants, we can't stand on their shoulders. So you must assess the quality of the source. That's why I say the JSTOR database is the best source. The Scopus database is very good too, but very expensive and not many people use it. You publish for Scopus when you want to, as an academician, when you want to satisfy KPI to keep your job. The only people who are going to read your article, this is your target audience. Madame Tios adverted to this. When you publish in Scopus, your audience, can anybody guess who your audience is? I'm sure you'll all get it wrong. I'll tell you. Your audience are the peer reviewers. You are writing to peer reviewers. These are peer reviewers of Scopus journals. They are the only people who will read your article in depth. They are the experts. If you can get past the peer reviewer, you get the publication, you get the KPI, and the university is very happy with your work. So this is why I'm talking about quality of sources, because in this process, you take densely referenced texts from the sources, word for word, strip it of the author's voice, re-paraphrase it, then add on to it your new argument. This will give you the base research accepted by the international scholarly community, now in your own words and ready to superimpose on it your new argument and syntheses. This means that in this process, you won't have to do much work in the quality of the paragraphs. They'll be done. All you have to do is be a very, very good paraphraser. You need to bring all the references over with you, because that will give you the base research that's already been accepted by the international community of scholars. This is the base research that now you can stand on top of using Dr. Jawari's process of synthesis. Now, this is an entry that's just been published that I wrote a few years ago. It takes a long time to get some of these published in the Edward Elgar Encyclopedia of Criminal Law. And I wrote an article about misprision of felony, which is a very unusual crime. It's the duty, if you see a crime, to go and report it to the police. And if you don't report it to the police will say to you, why didn't you tell us? And can arrest you for not telling them in certain circumstances. That's called the crime of misprision of felony. And you can see how densely referenced this is. It has to be very densely referenced for an encyclopedia. And by the way, everything published by Edward Elgar in their encyclopedia series are all Scopus indexed. So it's a good place for you to seek to be published. This is an article that comes from JSTOR. Now, this is in a completely foreign field to everyone here today, but doesn't matter because we're only interested in structure. The nice thing about it is that there's always this page at the head of a JSTOR article that gives you all that information that you can immediately turn into a citation. And you can turn it into a citation, into a footnote, and immediately you have your first reference. And you can, if you have 3 or 4 of these articles and you put them into your article template, then that gives you the 3 or 4 body sections of your manuscript. Let's have a look inside this article. You see here, we go here in the sources to the theoretical sections, because in doctrinal research, we're working only with theoretical issues. In here, there are no references. But it's interesting. It's a very interesting thing, but no references, ignore it. You have to resist the temptation to take information from something that's not referenced. Here's the next page. There's a footnote here. So now we see we can go back and take this paragraph here because it has a footnote at the end of it there. And then here's another footnote. So this paragraph, we can take that. You take it word for word. You select it in your word processor and you dump it into your article file, and later you edit. And eventually you paraphrase it after it's ready for paraphrasing, and it becomes accepted research in your words. You must not plagiarize. But plagiarism is based upon copyright law, and it's based upon the old Greek concept of ellipsis, which means missing person. So it's fraudulent to write something where the right person is not cited. So everything you write, including everything you paraphrase, has to have the proper citation. But the only thing that's prohibited to write is someone else's words. Don't do it. Put it in your words. So you have to be good in this process at paraphrasing. And because I'm a native English speaker, it comes very easily to me. I also work with a lady who is at USM in Penang. She's an American woman from Baltimore. She's a native English speaker, and she can paraphrase at some lightning speed. She can paraphrase a 30-page article in a few hours. It's just amazing. So you see down here in this next paragraph, we have a footnote there and an in-text reference as well. Another footnote here and another in-text reference. So there's two references together. We can take that paragraph as well. So we can actually talk about what a fable is. A fable being a form of oratory. And here's the section on the anecdote, which is another form of oratory. And you see footnote, in-text reference, footnote, in-text reference. This is densely referenced. You can take all this. You don't even read it. You just decide whether it's a good quality source and whether it's densely referenced or not. And then just copy it and paste it into your article template. Now, this means that the article writing process has been reduced to mechanical operations. And the real intellect does not take place until you do syntheses, generate the conclusion, and generate the introduction. But the body of the article is all 100% mechanical and editing to put it into your words. So extracting from sources, let's look at this. We have good sources in JSTOR, and we want to extract from these sources. Look through the headings and subheadings of the source article and identify a separate section that defines and/or describes the theory of the concept you are researching. We don't want quantitative data. When you find such a section or subsection, and we don't want tables or graphs, look at its paragraphs and selecting only those paragraphs that have a minimum of 3 footnotes or other kinds of discrete referencing citation sources. Long passages without referencing are useless to you because you're not standing on the shoulders of giants. And because we are not interested in the source article's author's voice. That author's voice is his or her argument. We want our argument, which will be our synthesis. Our goal is to construct a new theoretical argument of scopus quality, a new frame of reference that's built on top of the reference sentences we extract from the source article. And let me tell you a secret. Scopus has a robot that assesses, it's a computer program, a computer robot that assesses all the articles. And if all the references in your articles are similar to accepted articles that are already published, immediately Scopus is going to accept it. Immediately. But we find out later on that we actually add more reference to our articles. We do this through a process called drill downs that I won't be describing today, but it greatly enhances the depth of scholarship, and the drill downs are what give you the best syntheses. So you select these optimal paragraphs one by one, copy and paste them into your article template file. They don't have to read seamlessly together right now, as close reading editing will take care of that later. So you dump these paragraphs into your article, and as Dr. Jawari explained to us, later on there has to be a proper logical transition between those paragraphs, but we're not doing that now. That's for editing later on. And the creation of the logical flow is another form of synthesis and antithesis. So you must ensure that the source article's footnotes, superscripts survive the copy-paste procedure. If not, add them to your article template file manually. You see how mechanical this is at the moment. Now let's talk a little bit about qualitative research, because it's slightly different. In qualitative research, this is an empirical form of research. There's no numbers, there's no quantitative data, but it's empirical because it gets discrete pieces of information that add up and provide us with an answer. Qualitative research testing of ideas suggests lens theory. Outcomes can either be principles or new language. It's about discovering underlying meanings similar to doctrinal research. The data, which are pieces of narrative, is interpreted through the relevant context called a lens. We gather personal and interpersonal histories. I'll give you an example. In the book I am in the middle of writing at the moment, called Regulation of the Professions in East Asia, the last chapter is on what happens to fit and proper professional people when they become employees. Normally, you know, lawyers and accountants and all these kinds of government accredited professionals either work on their own or work in large professional organizations. But what happens when they go and work for a manager? And there are many problems. They're captured, they're contained, they're compromised, and the government gets very upset about these things. So I interviewed cohorts of people who had been in these situations, preceded this by a critical literature review, and what we have is a qualitative research chapter that we are already presenting to the Minister of Human Resources in one of your neighboring countries, and that gets us very high level access. And it also gets us somebody to write the foreword for the book. So all these things fit together. The foreword for the book, the previous book I wrote, which was called Human Capital and Development, the Vice Chancellor of UUM in Malaysia, who is a Brigadier General in Malaysia, wrote the foreword, and that greatly enhanced the quality of the book and the target audience. Now let's talk about adding the critical lens. This is from my new book, Regulation of the Professions in East Asia. There's a chapter in there where I talk about what are the professions. How can you characterize a profession? It's chapter 2. Who knows what a profession is? Very few people do. They use the term professional in a method of meaning that's banal, it's in common use in the population. And they say things like, well, you weren't very professional when you spoke today, but that's not the real meaning of what a professional is. So I wrote a full history of the development of the professions and gave it the lens from what Antonio Gramsci said about hegemony. And we see here in this definition, in this direct quote, that Gramsci, who was locked up in a jail in Italy in the Mussolini regime, explained to us how professions form part of one of the layers of society, and that what they do is that they use the advice that they give to people to instill the ideology into the people, and that's called the generation of hegemony. So we're able to see what a profession is and what it actually does in the power structure. So that's how you use a lens in your paper. Next, we're doing well. I'll tell you, I have 34 slides. We're at 26 now. Let's look at word count. I've already told you what I want to say here. Here's the dashboard of the aeroplane that I used to fly. And you need to be able, in a Scopus article, to say it's an 8,000 word article. Therefore, the body of the article is 5,000 words, which means you have to extract maybe 4,500 words from your 3 or 4 articles that you've got from JSTOR, and you add to that the additional text from your drill downs to give it additional depth of scholarship. And then by adding syntheses, introduction and conclusion, it's 8,000 words, perfect for Scopus. It's got the right depth of scholarship, which is 10 separate, discrete, high-quality sources per 1,000 words written, and the references are from sufficiently high-quality sources so that the Scopus database will pick it up as being acceptable for indexation. So generate your word count as a project management device. Let's look at Scopus requirements. Quality of English, peer-reviewed, identifiable and coherent argument, sufficient depth of scholarship, and I told you what depth of scholarship means. 10 discrete sources per 1,000 words written. That's why it's a good idea whenever you write an article to do a bibliography. So in the bibliography, you can see how many discrete sources you have, and you can immediately use the arithmetic and decide whether the depth of scholarship is sufficient. If it is not, you do more drill downs. Now, quality of English. Somebody referred to some of the computer programs available these days. I think Dr. Jawari said something about that. Maybe Madame Tias said something about Grammarly. If you use Grammarly or one of these software, that it will raise the quality of the English for the paper. When I first started to write years ago, my English was at 65%, even though I'm a native English speaker. And I learned and learned from Grammarly until I could get it to 95%. Now, peer-reviewed. The article has to be properly peer-reviewed. If it goes through a journal that has no peer reviews, it will never be Scopus indexed. When we do a Scopus indexed book, I, as the editors, have to get the peer reviewers. And I give them the parameters for peer review. They peer review, they give me the notes, their notes, and I have to provide those notes to Scopus. There has to be an identifiable and coherent argument, which means the structure of the introduction, which I'll show you soon, maps onto the body of the article, which maps onto the conclusion. And if it does, then the peer reviewers will be happy. And the only people who assess whether you have an identifiable and coherent argument are the peer reviewers. And there we go. So they're the Scopus requirements. Next, structural writing. This is something I'll give you that not many people can give you. This is what we call the Carrington-Rand article writing process. And here it is in chronological order. 1, select the topic. 2, obtain 3 to 5 high quality of authoritative sources, which you will get from JSTOR. It takes 9 sources to get 3 to 5 that are good. Do the sources extraction and paste the extractions into the Carrington-Rand article template, which is here, we'll go to next. You paste into the template and you do all your work in the template. Edit the references to absolute perfection, having a referencing guide next to you at all times. Do the so-called tidy up process. I have a 10-page handout on how to tidy up an article. Identify, research, and insert the drill downs. Drill downs, my friends, are any technical term in your manuscript that the educated lay reader does not understand. So you must know your audience. Paraphrase the entire manuscript. Do not let anyone else paraphrase your manuscript, because the paraphrasing process is the process by which your unconscious mind makes you an expert in this research and allows you later to do the synthesis. Then do the first close reading and add syntheses. These syntheses will include antitheses. Begin to form the conclusion, begin to write the subsections of the introduction, finish and mesh together the introduction and conclusion, write the abstract, keywords, and title. The abstract, ladies and gentlemen, is a 200-word summary of the introduction. The keywords are the most significant words in the abstract. The title is a proposition formed from these keywords. Now let's look. This is the article template. You see here we have the title, and the title is the very last thing you do, because you don't know what your title is until you have an abstract keywords. The introduction has a statement of significance, and I run a whole course in how to do this. The research objective, this is the overall research objective of the manuscript. And here we have a dense narrative, well-referenced, developing the research gap and the research question. It may have a lens in it. Then we have the research question, the thesis statement. Then we talk about the research paradigm and methodology. Now, in Madame Tias's presentation and in Dr. Jawari's presentation, there's provision for a lot of discussion about methodology. In doctrinal research, your research and paradigm methodology is explained in 2 sentences, and it's pretty much always very similarly described. Then there's the article structure, which is just telling the reader what all the sections and subsections are. And then the likely research outcomes, where you telegraph to the reader what's likely to happen. And the secret is that we have re-paraphrased this last section of the conclusion, which is extended syntheses, and taken it straight up to the introduction. Okay, then we have body section 1, 2, 3, 4, as many body sections as you want. Each one of these will correspond to a separate JSTOR paper, all re-paraphrased with new argument and new syntheses. It won't look anything like the JSTOR papers when it's finished. It'll be standing on the shoulders of giants with the novelty and the synthesis and the antithesis and the generated underlying principles of a high quality Scopus paper. Okay, now the conclusion. The first thing we do is restate the research question in the past tense. So let's say the research question is, the question arises as to whether the national anthem of Australia is a good national anthem. When you state that in the conclusion, you say, the research question in this manuscript was or asked whether the national anthem was good. So you put it in the past tense because the paper's done. And you do the same thing with the thesis statement. Now, every time in the body of your paper that you added a synthesis, now I'll tell you something very beautiful here, because Dr. Jawari talked about synthesis 1, 2, and 3. And I loved him talking about that, because the way I do it is I add, anywhere I get an insight, I add an extra clause to the proposition, and those clauses are introduced with one of the following 3 verbs, either suggesting inferring, or implying. So you might have a sentence that's a conclusion to a paragraph that's got a footnote. Full stop, footnote. Cross out the full stop, put a comma, add a space after the footnote, superscript, inferring such and such. That is your synthesis. Every time you do that, highlight it in yellow. Then your paper will have many, many, many of these extra clauses highlighted in yellow. And later on, you save the paper in another file under another name, and you delete everything except those clauses, and they are the collated syntheses. Then you can mold them into a conclusion in exactly the same way Dr. Jawari molded his 3 research sources into a cogent paragraph. It's the same process. And so from the collated syntheses, you'll find that you may have 1,000 words or maybe 800 words in separate paragraphs. You find the seminal issue in every paragraph, highlighted in yellow, extract all those yellows, put them together, and that's the extended synthesis right here. The extended synthesis should be in the form of identified underlying principles. Mold it into a narrative of extended underlying principles, and that is the last paragraph of your conclusion. Then take that paragraph and put it in here and re-paraphrase it. Then cut it out and put it in the end of the introduction. And that's the process. You can see now how the introduction meshes with the conclusion.
5 minutes more, sir.
And I want to tell you, how many more minutes? Sorry, I thought he was telling me
5
more
minutes
minutes.
more.
5 minutes, okay. You can see now that the research question has a preliminary answer called the thesis statement. You can see that the research question is answered by the extended synthesis and is represented in the likely research outcomes in the introduction. You can see that the whole body of the paper is sprinkled everywhere with syntheses, the product of your insight from your unconscious mind, which means the body of the paper meshes onto the conclusion and the introduction meshes onto the conclusion. And when you finish the conclusion, you put it into another file, you get rid of all the referencing, and you compress it down to 200 words, and that's your abstract. In the abstract, you don't have the structure, but you have everything else. Once you've got the abstract, you highlight 4 or 5 of the most significant words. They're your keywords. Then you take those keywords and you form them into the title of the paper. And then the peer reviewer says, the title of this paper accurately represents what's written in this paper. That's the process. Now, let's take it one step further. You write these articles, and in your career, you get them published with Scopus 1, 2, or 3. You'll find that getting published in Scopus 1 is almost impossible. It takes a year for them to peer review it. And it tends to be a journal such as what I found in law, the Cambridge Law Journal, that's targeted at the broad base of the market. That's how they get Scopus 1. They may not publish the best articles. In fact, the best scientific doctrinal research articles are published at the Scopus 2 level. Okay, how can you do this to form an organizing principle in your department at the university? Write a Scopus indexed book. I've given you 2 publishers today, Nova Science Publishers and Edward Elgar Publishers. Every book they publish is Scopus indexed. If you give them the book proposal in the right form, they'll give you a contract. You can allocate 1 chapter to each member of staff at the university who's participating in the project. You can have one chapter that's qualitative research so that you can go to the minister and get funding and influence policy in the government of the country, and you can publish a book which has a foreword by a vice chancellor, a general, some big person, some big wheel somewhere that adds something to your research, and the university will then have a team of academics who, from personal research, are able to form Aristotelian demonstrations in their classrooms based upon the whole cohort of the department agreeing together on the form of the book. And this will, as the rector blessed us today to go forward and create new knowledge, it will create new knowledge in the minds of our students. And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my remarks today. I just want to say how much of an honor it is for me to be with you and how amazed I am at your university and the quality of your scholarship. Thank you very much.
Okay, give applause for Mr. Gary for amazing presentation.
Thank you. Stop share. There we go.
Very interesting, sir.
Okay, he has given his own conclusion, so that we continue to the next session. There is a question and answer session. The three questioners are welcome. The computer, please check the raise hand in the chat column and unmute. Apa di chat aja ya? Raise hand aja ya. Okay, you directly raise hand. It's okay. Please, three questions before Mr. Bapak Rector will give the certificate at 1. Yeah. Please, briefly of the time. Anyone? Okay. Recently, we hear that actually there is robot in the Scopus. That's a very valuable information for us, because if we send any article, we will face the robot. Okay. The next, there is question. There are questions. No. We are waiting for 1 minute here.
All right, if there is no question, how about if I want to get information from, yeah, if there is no question, I would like to say something, yeah.
Okay.
Especially to Professor Dr. Gary Linton about information, Prof. In Australia, what do you think about the universities and also the faculties in your country there, whether they are obliged to publish their article in Scopus Index, or there are other alternative international journals beside Scopus? or they are obligatory to be in the Scopus Index, but not other reputable international journal. For example, this is maybe you can give us information like that, Prof. Gary Lilienthal.
Thank you for the question, Dr. Jawari. I just turned my video on. I thought it was on. In Australia, in Australia, they don't care so much about Scopus because the Australian Research Council has its own accreditation called ERA, and it's tied to grants. And so people obviously prefer the grants to the Scopus. But in Asia, people are very, very interested in Scopus because it's run by Elsevier. It has a methodology. It has a computer-generated methodology for assessing the quality of research, and people appreciate it, and it fits with management objectives to universities. But in Australia, no. Also in India, they don't care about Scopus. They have their own system. I forgot UGA or something like that. They have their own system in India, but not as high a quality as what we're talking about today. In Australia, they do very high quality articles. They do very good lenses, but it's all on the ERA principles because it's tied to research funding from the Australian government. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you for the information. Yes. Thank you.
Oke, Bapak Rektor has been come. Thank you, Pak Juwari. Okay, thank you. As a moderator, I apologize for any mistake in speech and attitude. I will return it to the MC. This is Nurul. Nurul, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much to all the speakers. It's really nice insight and hope it is useful for us. And thank you very much to Mr. Edi Pujobasuki as PDMPD as the moderator for today's event. Okay, the next agenda is grading certificate to all speakers that will be given by the Rector of Universitas Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, the Honorable Professor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yazidi, Master of Engineering. And it will be given to, the first is Madam Tia Saputri, SSMPD, and the second is to Dr. Andes Juari, Magister of Humaniora, and the third is Professor Dr. Gary Lilienthal from Tashkent State University. Okay, for Prof. Yazidi, time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Nurul. Where is the certificate?
Okay, it will be held by committee.
Oh, okay.
The first is for...
Okay, thank you, Bu Tia Saputri, for your inspiration presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
And Pak Juari, your presentation is very wonderful and inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And especially for Professor Gary Lilienthal, thank you for your coming virtually and inspiring us with your beautiful and wonderful presentations. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rector.
Thank you very much to Professor Yazidi. And before we close our event today. We will do some documentations and please all the
Excuse me, Ms. Nurul.
Yes.
Prof. Gary, if you have time, please come physically to our campus in Surabaya, Indonesia.
Thank you, sir.
It
What
is
an
our
honor. I'd love to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we close our event today, we will do some documentation and please all the participants turn on the video and it will be held by the campus. Okay, we are going to count 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then the second is 1, 2, 3. And then the last 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Okay, before we close our event today, don't forget to fill the attendance list. And I'm the master of ceremony. I would like to say thank you very much for your nice attention. See you on the next Mimbar Academy.
See you. Terima kasih Pak Juari. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bu Tias dan semua teman-teman.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Prof. Gary, thank you.
Madam Eleanor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Gary.
Madam Eleanor, thank you. Thank you all participants. Thank you, Miss
for all
Nurul.
participants.
Thank you all committees, Mr. Didin.
Selamat. Salut.
All committees. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Izin Olive ya, Juari, Bu Tias, teman-teman semuanya.
Thank you, Prof. Matur nuwun.
Matur nuwun, Prof.
Thank you all participants and the invited guests. See you in the next meeting. Bye-bye.
Didn't get the chance to feel the world around me. I had no time to choose what I chose to do. So go easy on me. There ain't no room for things to change when we are both so deeply stuck in our ways. You can't deny how hard I've tried. I changed who I was to put you both first, but now I give up. Go easy on me, baby. I was do. So go easy on me.
Cintaku 100% ori, kayak produk pilihan di Shopee 77.
If you ever leave me, baby, leave some morphine at my door. 'Cause it would take a whole lot of medication to realize what we used to have. We don't have it anymore. There's no religion that could save me. No matter how long my knees are on the floor. Oh, so keep in mind all the sacrifices I'm making to keep you by my side and keep you from walking out the door. 'Cause there'll be no sunlight if I lose you, baby. There'll be no clear skies if I lose you, baby. And just like the clouds, my eyes will do the same. If you walk away, every day it'll rain, rain, rain. I'll never be your mother's favorite. Your daddy can't even look me in the eye. Ooh, if I was in their shoes, I'd be doing the same thing. Saying there goes my little girl, walking with that troublesome guy. But they're just afraid of something they can't understand. Ooh, but little darling, watch me change their minds. Yeah, but you, I'll try, I'll try, I'll try, I'll try. And pick up these broken pieces till I'm bleeding. If that'll make it right. 'Cause there'll be no sunlight if I lose you, baby. There'll be no clear skies if I lose you, baby. And just like the clouds, my eyes will do the same. If you walk away, every day it'll rain, guilty eyes and little white lies. Yeah, I played dumb, but I always knew that you talked to her, maybe did even worse. I kept quiet so I could keep you. And ain't it funny how you ran to her the second that we called it quits? And ain't it funny how you said you were friends? Now it sure as hell don't look like it. You betrayed me, and I know that you'll never feel sorry for the way I hurt. Yeah, you talked to her when we were together, loved you at your worst, but that didn't matter. It took you 2 weeks to go off and date her. Guess you didn't cheat, but you're still a traitor. Now you bring her around just to shut me down, show her off like she's a new trophy.